Hi, this is John Slocum from SixBit Software, and in this video we're going to teach you all about allocation plans. So the first question is, what is an allocation plan? Well, an allocation plan is a feature of SixBit that lets users specify a set of rules for how they want their items automatically allocated across one or many different sites. This can include automatically relisting, automatically revising quantities, or even automatically ending listings when you no longer have inventory. Let's start by talking about all the things you can do with an allocation plan. With allocation plans in SixBit, you can automatically relist ended auctions and fixed price items. We all know you can't sell something that isn't listed, and it can be a full-time job keeping track of what items have ended and what items need to be relisted. With an allocation plan, you won't have to continually keep your eye on which listings are ending and worry about whether you're relisting them in time or not. It'll all be taken care of automatically. Any fixed price items that didn't sell can automatically have their price lowered before being relisted. Allocation plans can also be used to revise running listings. This can come in handy when you want to automatically maintain a particular quantity of items on a site. You may have 100 items in inventory, but only want to keep 3 listed to give a sense of low supply. As your inventory quantities in SixBit change, allocation plans can also help you automatically maintain your inventory on one or more sites. This can include automatically revising listings whenever you add or remove inventory, either manually or through a CSV import. This means if your supplier or your inventory system can provide you with a CSV, comma-separated values file, that contains your inventory quantities, you can simply import that CSV file and all of your inventory on the different sites will be updated automatically. In addition to keeping all of your inventory listed on multiple sites, you can also have your inventory automatically split across multiple sites. So for instance, if you had 100 items, you could have 50 listed on one site and 50 listed on another site. And that way you don't run in the risk of overselling any items. And finally, allocation plans can automatically end listings whenever you run out of inventory. This includes whether you go in and manually change your inventory, which reduces your number to 0, or if an item sells on another site, which means you no longer have any items, or if you do a CSV import, which sets your inventory down to 0. Anything that sets your inventory to 0 will end the listing on any site that has an allocation plan. I'm sure you can see how much time you can save with allocation plans. Allocation plans are available in the Enterprise Edition of SixBit, and they offer a level of automation that up until now has only been available in selling tools costing much more. Now let's go and actually see how all this works. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to show you how SixBit can automatically relist an auction. You'll see here I've pre-created a pair of leather shoes, and we've set the inventory over on the right to say that there's 5 on hand and that we don't have any waiting to ship or any currently listed. So we're going to open up the item, and the first thing we have to do is set the allocation plan. The allocation plan is just like any other preset. You can see it has its own group, and I can choose a value from the drop-down. We've chosen to keep an auction always listed, and you can see the relist auctions when they end box is now checked. Now, just because you created an allocation plan, that doesn't mean this item is going to be suddenly listed. It's important to understand with allocation plans that they'll never list an item the first time. You have to make the initial listing before allocation plans will then take the ball and run with it. So we're going to go and submit our initial auction with Buy It Now. Click the Submit button. And now we have an item that's currently listed. I'm going to go ahead now and speed things up and buy this auction so we can simulate what's going to happen once the auction ends and needs to be relisted. Now normally when an item sells, the agent catches it its next time around, but we're in a bit of a hurry here, so we're going to go up and manually refresh the selected listing so we can record the sale right now. And you can see we now have one waiting to ship. So we've got an item that has auction set to automatically be relisted, and we have an ended auction. So now we would expect that a new auction would be submitted. Just like other automatic functions, reallocations are taken care of by the agent in the background. Every minute, the agent's going to check to see if any reallocations need to occur and perform them if necessary. We could sit here and wait for the reallocation to occur, but that'd make a pretty boring video. So we're going to go up and use an automated feature called Reallocate Now to make the reallocation occur right now. And if we go and look at check listings, we'll see that a new listing just started. Going back to sell items, we can see that in addition to the one that we bought earlier that's waiting to ship, we also now have a currently listed one. As auctions continue to sell, they'll continue to be relisted until the inventory is zero. Now let's take a closer look at allocation plan settings. I'm going to go up and choose a manual preset so that I can go through each of the settings individually. Now just like we could automatically relist auctions, we can also automatically relist fixed price listings. You can see here we can keep a constant quantity listed, and if I set the value to 1, that'll ensure that I always have one item on the site. If a fixed price listing ends without a sale, we also have the option to decrement the price for the relisting. So we can go down and check the decremented price, and we can choose to decrement it by either a fixed amount or a percentage. We'll choose a percentage. Let's say we want to decrement it by 10%, but we never want to go below $100. Each time your item is relisted, it'll continue to have the price decremented until it reaches your floor price. In addition to keeping a particular quantity listed, we can also choose to keep all of our inventory listed. If you sell on multiple sites, you can even choose to split your inventory across the different sites. To split inventory between eBay and BidStart, for instance, the allocation plan for both sites has to be set to split inventory. SixBit comes with a list of predefined allocation plans, but you can customize and save your own if you'd like also. Suppose you commonly want to keep 3 items running at all times. We can create and save a preset to do that. First, we'll choose to keep a constant quantity listed, set the value to 3, and then go hit the save icon to save this preset. We'll enter the name, keep 3 FP listed, hit enter, and that saves the preset. The next time we want to list an item with that allocation plan, we'll just choose it from the drop-down. If you want to edit a preset once you've created it, you can do that with the pencil icon. Just make your changes, choose to update the preset, and click OK. Now your preset has changed. Since the quantity is now 4, we probably want to change the name also. We can do that with the Manage Presets button. Just click Rename, enter the new name, and click OK. The important thing to remember when modifying a preset is that any items that use that preset will be affected. In this case, any items that had a relist quantity of 3 will now have a relist quantity of 4. This change will automatically occur the next time the agent runs. I want to make sure you understand that although allocation plans can perform a lot of automated tasks for you, there's still some lag time between the time an item sells and the time when the reallocation occurs. Because we're a desktop program, we can only intermittently ping the sites to see if an item has sold, and it's entirely possible that an item may sell in 2 places before SixBit has a time to record the first sale and end all the other sales. This can result in an oversold condition. If you want a 100% guarantee that you do not run into an oversold condition, then we recommend you use the option to split your available inventory between sites. That way the same inventory is never listed on more than one site at a time. If, however, you do want to maximize your exposure and end up with an oversold condition, then SixBit can help you sort it all out. To demonstrate this, I've created a new item with an inventory of 1. I listed the item on eBay as both a buy it now auction and a fixed price auction. You can see that I have 1 on hand and 2 listed. Now I'll speed things up and buy both of those items at the same time. I've purchased both items, so now I'll select them both and do a revise selected to record the sales. Now let's go back to the items mode and we'll see that it's flagged the oversold condition for us. You'll see we now have 2 waiting to ship and 1 oversold. If we take the focus off the item, you'll see it's highlighted in pink to let us know that it's oversold. And if we go to the dashboard, we'll notice that there's an oversold items count in our to-do list. Earlier I'd mentioned that we can also revise running listings based on input from a CSV file, but since this is such an often requested feature, I wanted to show you an example. I've gone ahead and created another item with an inventory quantity of 1. I've also set the allocation plan to always list all inventory, and I've even started a fixed price listing. So now all of our inventory is currently listed on the site. I'm going to show you what happens when we do a CSV import that changes the inventory and how it affects the running listings. First, let's take a look at the simple CSV file that I've created. To update inventory, there are really only 2 fields I need to provide: the item ID of the item that we'll be updating and the quantity we want to reconcile the inventory to. In my example, I'm setting the inventory quantity to 0. The first reallocation that is performed after this update is made will result in the listing being ended since there is no more inventory. If instead I'd set the quantity to 2, then the next reallocation would have updated the available inventory on the listing to 2 instead of ending it. Now let's go ahead and import the CSV file. So we choose Import, Import from Flat File. I'm going to go down and choose my file. Choose to Update Only. And you can see that the item ID and the reconcile inventory to fields automatically mapped since they were named the same. Do the import, and you'll see that our on-hand quantity has gone down to 0, but the currently listed is still 1. That's because the reallocation hasn't occurred yet. We could wait a minute for the agent to do it, or we could go ahead and manually do it now. And you can see here that it ended the listing and there are currently no more running. There's just one more thing I wanted to discuss before we wrap up this video, and that's the topic of automatic cancellation of allocation plans. Despite the fact that you've may set up an allocation plan, you can still perform manual functions that contradict it. When this occurs, SixBit doesn't know what you really want it to do, so it turns off the incongruous part of the allocation plan. Let me give you an example. Suppose you've set up an allocation plan to always keep 1 fixed price item listed, and you manually end the item. If the allocation plan were still left on, then 1 minute later it would relist the item again. Clearly this is not what you intended, so when situations like this occur, SixBit simply turns off the part of the allocation plan that is conflicted. In this case, it would turn off automatic relisting of fixed price listings for that item. Other actions you might take that can confuse an allocation plan are manually modifying the quantity during a revise of a listing or manually changing the quantity right on the eBay site. Well, that's about it for allocation plans. Before I go, I want to leave you with some advice as you begin to use them. First, I'd recommend you start out slowly and make sure you've seen them in action before you start applying allocation plans to thousands of items. Also, for any items that you're using allocation plans for, you should maintain your inventory through SixBit at all times. Manually changing listings will only lead to confusion. It's best to just change your inventory in SixBit and let it do what it was designed to do. And lastly, just remember that despite all the allocation plans can do for you, it's still possible for you to oversell an item. Make sure you handle the situation professionally, and most buyers will understand. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please give allocation plans a try, and if you have any issues, don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you.